Welcome to another presentation of the Sound and Emotions Conference. Now we have Lisa Rafel. Hi, Lisa.
Hi, David.
We were just talking. Lisa and I have known each other for 20 years.
It's just amazing.
Yeah. And so let me read your bio. Lisa Rafel is an expert teacher of vocal sound healing and energy healing. She's also an author and songwriter, and she wrote the award-winning book and clinically tested music, Safe in the Arms of Love, promoting best parent-baby bonding. She's also a playwright and has done multiple healing recordings, and she created the Five Worlds teaching program. Her website is lisarafel.com. Welcome, welcome. What have you been up to?
I've been doing a lot of teaching. I've been working with clients. We're creating a new website. We're putting together lots of new. And I'm in the midst of finishing up a musical play, and that's just about done.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
Yeah, I have my fingers crossed on that.
Uh-huh.
And I don't know that anything creatively is ever done. You just have to stop, you know?
Right.
Right. It's
Right.
like, this is done. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Cool.
So that's all been good. And I'm loving teaching. I'm just loving teaching again.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Lisa also teaches at our institute as well for a really long time. It does a whole voice healing class and a class around boundaries that are really, really cool.
Thank you.
Yeah. So we're going to start with an actual treatment for what type of issues?
So I think right now there's a tremendous amount of anxiety that is almost, it's just pervasive. And it's because of what's happening in the world, but it's also having come through the pandemic and coming back into relationship, knowing that another variant could come, or knowing that you're awkward. I know I have been awkward being with groups, having been isolated for 2 years. That's created some anxiety. And I think anxiety is very, it's hard to identify sometimes. You don't really know it's anxiety. You just know something's off, or your blood pressure has gone up and you don't really know why, or your mouth is dry, or any number of small symptoms can appear, and you don't identify it that way. Also, I think, David, people who are certainly tuning in to this particular kind of teaching are highly sensitive people. And it's difficult sometimes to separate the waves of anxiety that are going on in the world around you from yourself. And, that's the core of boundary work, but we're not always conscious of that. And so I'd like to do some sounds to quiet the nervous system from anxiety.
Excellent. Excellent. I can't wait. Thank you so much. Whenever you're ready.
I like to open with a prayer, and I'm asking Mother, Father, Life. I'm asking that which we have so many names for and cannot name, that incredible creative intelligence and beauty that brought us into existence, for that space to fill our hearts, for us to welcome that presence, and for us to allow ourselves to meet that presence with the great intelligence that lives inside of us, with the great wisdom that lives inside of us, and to let this connection take place. As I make these sounds, to ease the body from anxiety and to welcome that great presence into that healing, peaceful, calming space, so that our body can, at least for this period of time, relax in a way that that allows more joy that allows more wonder and more curiosity about what can I bring to the world through joy and peace and harmony and love. I embody this presence and I awaken my own. I allow this connection in its fullness.
should just hang out here for the rest of the presentation. Thank you. That was beautiful.
You're welcome. You know, healing is really about, for me, it's the presence of being with what is. And for me, to be in the presence of the anxiety and to let that be real, and then to allow that incredible connection with spirit to soothe that presence, and to allow myself to be soothed as I'm doing it. You know, there's that great experience of the healer or the practitioner. We always get to be the student of ourself. We always get to receive the healing too, and it's such a blessing.
Nice. So tell us about your presentation.
So I chose accessing the power of your speaking voice for emotional healing because I've been listening to people talk for a long time. And, you know, the dynamic of your emotional state is, of course, everything in terms of how you are embodied, what is your presence in the world, how are you communicating, what are you communicating, how are you connecting. And the speaking voice is, of course, the first connection through sound that most people have. And so when you actually realize that it is expressing who you are, and it's experiencing that experience of yourself in the moment. This is who I am in this moment. To be able to have that kind of awareness so that we understand where our energy system is, we can use our voice as a symptom of where we are and who we are. It's really wonderful because it's defining our perceptive experience. It's defining our perceptions of the moment. It's establishing our resonant field of ourself with the world. So there's this great opportunity, whether we're on a big scale or an intimate scale, or we can discover through our speaking voice what's going on. Are we off? Are we pushing away? Are we welcoming in? You know, are we protecting? Are we inviting? And all that's in the speaking voice. It's so wonderful. So, and because our voice carries that intention, if we're unconscious and we're on autopilot and we're unaware of how much information there is for us to learn about ourselves in that moment, then we're just going to speak as we've been taught. Mm-hmm. And when you are born, before you're actually born, when you're in the womb, you're listening to what's going on in the world outside of you. And that is actually physiologically forming in your brain how you will adapt to the world when you are born. What is the familiar sound that's going to be your mother and going to be your father? What is that, or your parent, whatever combination of parent you have? What is that familiar sound of your environment, of the neighborhood? Do I need to, in my brain, do I need to wire for protection? Do I need to wire in a way where I feel safe? All of that programming has to do with how we then mirror sound when we come into the world. We come in listening to the language that we're going to speak, in most cases. So we're wiring to that. And we're wiring to how that emotion was in that environment while we were in utero and once we're born. Mm-hmm. So because we want to be accepted, you know, that baby, want to be accepted. I want to be taken into the wholeness of the world that I'm coming into. Of course, you want to become what you're hearing. You want to become a part of it. And if there is tension going on around you, you're going to absorb that. Mm. And if there's love and openness around you, you're going to absorb that. And meanwhile, You're trying to figure out how to walk and see and organize your life and listen. And then what are you going to say? So, what are you going to say? Is it acceptable? Right? If I'm screaming, it's not very acceptable. But, I don't know that yet. I'm just screaming because I'm screaming. I might love the sound of my own screaming. And my parents don't know that. They think I need something, but I'm just like in the scream. But your parents then tell you what's acceptable. And you start putting controls on the sound of how you're making sound. And if you listen to infants, and babies talk and that soft, beautiful babble, that sweet, sweet sound of, there's so much breath. If you listen to a toddler's voice, there's so much breath. There's so much aliveness in the sound of their voice. And then as we grow older and we become more identified with so many aspects of how we then form ourselves to fit into the world, we can dampen that breath. We can create a reducing of how we hear things we don't want to hear anymore, and including our own voice. So it's all about acceptance. How do I feel accepted in the world? How do I feel accepted in me? And, what do I need to do to perform a task? So let's say I have to give a speech, and is that pressure? Do I feel that pressure in my voice? Is my vocal cords, are they tightening? Am I feeling this nervousness or discomfort? That's gonna show up in my voice. Am I comfortable with the size of the room? Am I comfortable with the strangers in front of me? All of that is going to influence how I'm talking. With my partner, what am I emotionally feeling? That's certainly going to influence what I'm saying. So how do we change our voice? Is that a good idea? Well, maybe we need to look at our emotions first and see if that's a good idea. So if we look at that emotional component through our consciousness and we ask ourselves, in a holistic universe, do I want to connect with people? I'm going to say yes. But that doesn't mean the population around you feels the same way. So I think it's important to begin with, how am I comfortable within myself? My Fair Lady, the play and the movie, the whole thing was Professor Higgins was trying to change the way Eliza Doolittle spoke, because he wanted her to leave her cultural class. He wanted to prove through her voice that she came from a different class. And I remember hearing that Julia Roberts changed her Southern accent because she didn't want to only be identified as a Southern girl, what was her name? Holly Hunter, right. She loved her Southern accent because that was a part of her, and she didn't want to keep that at all. She didn't want to lose that at all. So we have this emotional relationship to our voice from our culture and from what I spoke about before, which is to feel that sense of connection to our family and to our environment. So why would I want to change it? Well, if I'm not breathing deeply, there's a reason for that. And those emotional experiences that hold that breath in prevent us from feeling calm and experiencing ourselves as whole, and experiencing ourselves as connected to our body and to our center. So I want to give an example of a breath exercise that could be useful in listening to how you might want to change the quality of your voice. If your voice is thin, maybe it's because you're not comfortable with that wider experience anymore. If your voice is booming, maybe you're not comfortable with that inner quiet experience. So, starting with the breath, I'd like you to try it if you'd like, to breathe in cool air into your body. Just breathe in it and know it's cool. It's very cool. And let it drop down to your chest. And let it become warm in your chest. And then breathe out warm air. So I'm breathing in cool air. And I'm breathing out warm air. And I'm doing it again. Breathing in cool air. Letting it warm, breathing out warm air. And what I'm noticing is my nervous system is slowing down. My intention of the temperature, my intention, I'm not even thinking pace. I'm just thinking temperature. And that's enough to slow it down. Let's do a different exercise of bringing in warm air and letting it go through the vocal cords. So it's expanding those vocal cords, and then we're going to let the warm air out on a soft sound. I'm breathing in warm air. I'm noticing it's still cool. I have to think for a moment. I want to breathe in warm air. So it might be cool in my nose, and from my nose in, it's going to be warm. Touching the warm air to my throat, my vocal cords. Letting them soften and letting out a soft sound. Ah. Ah. Now this kind of relaxation can bring up emotion very easily. There's a spaciousness that takes place when I'm breathing in air in any way, but being able to visualize an experience of that air can soften the containment that we might grow used to, and it can bring up emotion, which is okay. And as long as you're letting it be gentle, it's okay. It's like that opening prayer where I was tapping into that anxiety. It's okay to feel that. There's nothing wrong with feeling that. And letting it stay soft is the opportunity to feel it in a kind and gentle way. And the more we allow ourselves to feel these emotions in kind and gentle ways, the more we unwire our nervous system from reactivity, which is a wonderful thing to do. So I'm going to allow the air to come into my body again, and I'm going to let it fall down to my belly. And then I'm going to exhale it any way I want out my mouth. So I'm bringing in the nose, I'm bringing the air through my nose. I'm letting it drop to my belly, holding it down in my belly, and then letting it out with any sound. Ha, ooh, whew, letting it go. And that seemed to open up and loosen up my throat. That was good. So bringing in air again, letting it drop, and letting it out. And now just noticing how I feel. Now I'm going to ask you to sort of question yourself. Do you shallow breathe? Do you take in a deep breath? Is it a long breath? Is it a short breath? And I'd like you to try doing a longer breath. So you really take air in and you let it out. Notice if you feel yourself getting tingly. If you do, put your hands together. Let your hands say hello to each other. Maybe cross your hands this way, and then cross them around, and then put them back together. This is a way of recentering your electrical system just so it feels more calm. And now we're going to take in breath and make a sound and see how it feels to make a sound that's speaking. Hi. Hi. Hello. Hello. Is my energy going up? Is it going down? Is it circulating? It's actually going out. I'm not saying it for me, I'm saying it for you. Hi. Hello. If I'm saying something for me, I'm sitting in my chair. I'm speaking from a place that's in my body. I'm sitting in my chair. But then I want to tell you and share with you my enthusiasm. I'm sitting in my chair. And I want you to notice the difference of the energy. I'm sitting in my chair, I'm telling you. And I'm sitting in my chair. I'm enthusiastic. I'm not convincing you, I am enthusiastic. And there is a big difference. My voice is friendly, kind, enthusiastic. That's an emotion that I'm feeling. That's coming from my genuine emotion. So I'd like to calm again, do another exercise of calm. And this time I'd like you to breathe into your forehead and down the back of your head into your chest. And let it drop into your chest and blow out. And breathe up through your nose, down around the back of your head, down your neck into your chest. Let it drop into your chest and blow out. And now make a sound for you that's a word. What kind of word would you like to say? What would you like to say? Notice how it sounds to you. Notice that after having done the breathing exercise, there might be a difference in your physiology. How does it sound to make this word? You know, when we're working with emotions, there's all kinds of ways we want to speak. You know, are we speaking for kindness? Are we speaking for authority? Are we speaking to reject? No. Are we speaking to accept? Yes. Are we speaking for how we want to be perceived, for how we want to be received? All of this has to do with your speaking voice. So, you know, in sound healing, I've been working with David a long time. It's a pleasure. The students that come to the Institute are fantastic. And so it's such a joy to teach how to release sound from the body, because what you're doing is you're allowing the body to speak through sound. And we're learning how to hear those sounds. Well, when you're speaking, the same thing kind of happens. Your body is inviting this sound to come out, the words that you're saying, and you're learning to hear what you are saying when you become more conscious and more aware. Is what I'm saying me? Think about that. Is what I'm saying really me? Am I saying something for someone else? Am I saying it to prove something that is not me? What am I doing? Is it really me? And what you'll notice is if it's emotionally aligned to really you, it becomes very easy to say. It's like this relaxation of your whole health comes into play, and your voice can reveal that. Have you ever been in a situation where you're afraid and you're talking? I know I was driving down the road on the highway, and I had just before I left been sprayed by a skunk. And I was the car had been sprayed by a skunk. And I was so disturbed by this aroma. It was like I wanted to get away from it, but it was in my car. And so I was speeding a little bit on this road, and this policeman stopped me. And he said, "You were speeding." And I said, "Well, I didn't realize I was speeding. I was so upset because of this skunk, and I was trying to kind of get away from the smell, and I'm really sorry." And I noticed, in hindsight, how high and squeaky almost my voice got because I was so, I don't know if I was frightened, but I was certainly tense, and I did not want to get a ticket. And then, in the middle of that process, he had a very friendly face. I was able to recognize his friendly face, and he was sort of smiling at the ridiculousness of me trying to get away from the smell. And my voice dropped, and I became much calmer, and I became more conversational, and I became more interactive, and I was no longer telling him about what I was afraid of. I was actually speaking with him. I don't know if that's the reason I didn't get a ticket, but there was something that was taking place through the genuineness of our communication that really made a difference for me, and I think also for him. You know, when we're dealing with the rising of that energy, how do we pay attention to it? So many, many, many years ago, when I was an actor, we of course learned that our body was our instrument and our voice is our instrument too, and we had to cultivate voices in order to understand the roles. The way you do that is through the emotion of the character. What is the emotion that the character is feeling? And can you honestly embody that? So when you're looking at yourself, it's the same question. Are you honestly embodying the emotion of how you want to be with your authentic voice in the world? What is your authentic voice? I know there's an authentic tone, an authentic sound, an authentic pitch, but what is your voice? What is the sound that you love from your voice? So I have an exercise to connect with your emotional center. I'd like you to close your eyes and for a moment reflect upon the possibility that your heart can inform you of a sound it wants to hear. And it's your imagination that's going to allow this to take place. What is the sound your heart would like you to make for it so that the heart can hear this sound? So I'm going to breathe in, drop my shoulders, allow my head to float so my body is more open. I'm connecting with my heart center, and I'm asking it, what sound would it like to hear? And it's a sound I've never made. So I don't know if I can even make it, but because I can hear it in my imagination, I'm going to let my voice make this sound even though I don't know how to make it. And now I'm going to allow myself to wonder, what is that sound? I notice my throat is more clear. I notice my heart feels kinder. I notice the sadness is coming up, and maybe that was what that sound was. Maybe I'm sad for the state of the world, or I'm sad because I can't do more, or I don't know. I don't know the story. But I'm allowing the sound to be, and I'm letting it soothe me and calm me, even though it didn't sound very soothing and calming. I'm allowing it to be authentic. I'm allowing it to be real. And now, like I would say to David in front of me, I'm allowing the feeling of my heart to enter my hello. Hello. Hi. And it sounds different than how I sounded before. The physiology of my body has changed as I have done this. It could be just for a moment. It doesn't have to last very long. It could last longer if I wanted it to. If I wanted to learn how to let that sound last longer, I would have to do something really wonderful. I'd have to find a way to love the sound of my voice. I'd have to be kind. I'd have to be kind to myself and be willing to like the sound. You know, people think if you're kind and if you're loving and you're heartfelt, you're not strong, and that's not true. That's not true at all. The strength of your heart is incredible. My Native American, he's mixed breed actually, but my teacher, man Jaime Host Storm, was mixed breed himself. And he said that courage comes from courage, which is heart rage. I thought, wow, listen to the power of that, to be able to really be strong. And you know, we usually think of strong as shouting, so we can be heard, so someone will listen to us. But instead of thinking that energy is propelling you forward, what if you were making your force known through a relaxed state with enthusiasm? So you can be open to that sound. You know, it's interesting. Politicians shout. They shout a lot. They think you can't hear them unless they're shouting, which is probably why when President Trump was speaking, he never really shouted. He spoke from his musings. You know, he was self-reflecting as he was talking. He was meandering. But it was always about himself at a very real level. So he was never shouting, which might have been one of the reasons why people, when he'd say, "I'm not a politician," they believed him because he wasn't shouting. I mean, just think about that, how we associate so much with the sound of someone else's voice. I personally didn't like the timbre or the sound of his voice. I found it very nasal, but it obviously didn't bother a lot of people because they liked hearing it. They liked what he was saying because it wasn't forcing them to listen. Somehow he was inviting them in. You know, when I think about Hillary Clinton, she had a very strident voice, and so it was very easy to project onto her that she was somehow emotionally cold or distant, you know, or that she was judging. When she spoke more openly from her heart, there was a huge difference. And it's unfortunate that we do that. We believe that we have to force a sound on someone else for them to listen, which is not true. So how do you want to be heard? What is the open state where your heart's connected, where you feel genuine enthusiasm? You know, another exercise. Take in a breath again and gently blow the air out and say it on a vowel. So I'm going to breathe in the air. I'm going to blow the air out on a vowel. I'm going to use oh. And I feel it in my voice box, you know. I feel that vibration. Do you? Do you feel that vibration? Oh, you could put your hand here and feel it. Oh. And now put your hands on your cheeks and see if you can bring that sound up to your cheeks. Oh. How do you get that vibration up there? Oh, do you imagine it? Do you place it? How do you get it up there? Oh, you feel it? Now you feel it? Oh. Look how that relieves some of the tension in your throat. There's a way to move this sound. You can also put it in your nose. Oh, oh, oh. You have to get more nasal. Oh, oh, oh. You see how you can put the sound in different places in your face? All of this has to do with how sound vibrates through your vocal cords, how it resonates in your face. It all influences also how you hear it yourself. Because you are the sound chamber. You are the sound chamber. So, when we emotionally can feel ourselves as relaxed, calm, available, receptive, communicating, then this air can fill our presence and our body more. In my classes, when I teach for Globe or when I'm teaching my 5 worlds or in smaller pod classes, I'm always asking people to experience themselves as sacred and to experience the people around them as sacred, because it allows non-judgment to enter the field. It allows you to experience the presence of what's going on, because we are all sacred. It doesn't matter who we are. We are born sacred. We are all gifts. We are all miracles of life. That is the truth. We are miracles of life, and that unto itself is sacred. So we don't have to think of ourselves as a saint. We don't have to think of ourselves as special. We are all sacred. And yes, I have been with people who would never consider that as a possibility. Certainly when I look at Ukraine and I think of what is happening right now, there is no consideration for the sacredness of those people that are being bombed. And it's horrifying. It's just horrifying. But what's doubly horrifying is the people who are doing it don't know they're sacred. Not only do they not know that the other person is sacred, they don't know themselves as sacred. And it is such an enormous loss for this world. So when we speak, knowing we're sacred, we're connecting through our words, through the sound of our voice. We're connecting into that sacred field. We are enhancing and allowing more sacredness to be in the resonant field of the world. Your breath makes you alive. You live because you can breathe. And when we practice with our breath and we feel that deeper sense of continuity and elasticity and flexibility and more stability, it supports that sacred sound also. So I hope this is making sense to you. Your voice influences your relationships. If your sound is from a loving place that you love, that you welcome, then there will be greater heartfelt communication, patience, receptivity. You can physically change the timbre, the pitch, the flexibility. There are all kinds of exercises to do that. If you do them, keep your vocal cords gentle. Add breath, add your listening. Listen to what it is, to how you sound, because often it's a shock. Often it's a shock to hear the sound of your own voice. If you record it and you hear it back, it's like, that's not what I'm hearing, but that's what somebody else is hearing. So you can listen to yourself and discover what is inviting to you. What do you want to hear? What sound is the sound you like? And that is closer to really the authentic who you are when you're in that place. I want you to remember that relaxation is necessary for the whole body to feel health. It's not just the vocal cord. It's not just your voice. Relaxation is the great tool for self-awareness. When you allow that greater expansion, It is inviting health. So, knowing your voice can be a delivery system for kindness. Think about that. And think about how you sound. Well, I hope this was interesting. David, if you have any questions, I'd love to answer them.
Oh, I got all kinds. Oh, thank you. This is excellent, just excellent. So I thought first to do some highs and see if you can tell the energy behind it.
Sure.
Hi.
Do
Hi.
another.
Hi.
Yeah.
Hi. Hi. That was
Do you want me to answer each one?
sure.
Okay. So the first was a tentative hi there. I don't really know you. Hi.
Yeah, it's kind of, and I was actually kind of doing thinking that I wanted to try to get something from you.
Uh-huh. Well, you didn't know me either.
Uh huh.
So
Uh huh.
so so it was the
It wasn't.
inquiry.
Yeah, it wasn't. It wasn't like. Okay, here's another one. Hi. Hi.
So that actually feels insecure.
Yep, that's exactly what I was doing.
Okay.
Yeah, and then there's hi.
Oh, that was so sweet.
You know what I did?
What?
I thought of myself as sacred.
Yeah, that
That's
was so
exactly what I did.
so sweet. So sweet.
That's really cool. Okay, so let me. I'd like to add another perspective to this that is interesting. Um, when I talk about the voice, there's many different aspects of sound that you can look at. Most people talk about the timbre of the voice or tonality, right, which does carry a lot of information, and we've even learned from voice analysis that there's every single thing about your template of perfection and every way that you and society has screwed it up since then is carried in the tonality of the harmonics of your voice, right? And so there's that. There's also the actual frequency range that you speak in. There's the key that you sing in. But what I've found is the most important is actually not so much the tonality, which is very important because we get so much information, but the actual song you sing when you
So
speak.
so here I want you to when you see this recording, you're going to be fascinated. When you were explaining to me about all the different frequencies and stuff, your voice was very high. You were explaining to me, and so there was a different timbre, there was a different tension, there was a different quality, and you weren't actually conscious of your voice because you were so conscious of what you wanted to share with me. When you said coming into the sacred at the end, your whole voice changed.
Uh-huh.
Because as you came into it organically, your vocal cords adapted to that emotional content.
Cool, cool.
So can I use you as a guinea
What?
pig?
Yeah, but I want to finish this. So when's good?
Okay, so if you could finish it and okay, do what you need to do, and then I'll tell you.
Okay,
Okay.
okay, cool. So it's interesting. What I've noticed is people are really especially sensitive to the song of criticalness. Well, let me backtrack. We all sing when we speak. Everybody sings, and some people sing really interesting songs, and some people sing really kind of not, maybe more where they stay on the same note. But when people are critical, it's like, you know what I mean? Da 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 da. It's that song of the same note over and over. Da 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 da. Right? Whereas if I go, you know what I mean, it's completely different, right?
It's
So,
completely different.
and we are so on guard for people to actually say anything critical.
So I want you for a moment to realize people are so on guard to say anything critical.
To
And
hear
I
anything
to
critical.
hear anything critical. And I'd love you to explain that to me, bringing in more of your body energy and see what happens with your tone.
It's interesting because when you're explaining, there's a certain energy
Right.
that's different than when you're where I mean if I were to drop down and say, I would say something like, "Wow, when people are critical, it's really it's maybe it's a childhood issue, but it really affects me."
So, yes, that's all really good. And and explaining. So, notice what's happening to my voice. So, I am trying to explain to you the pitch is higher.
Hmm.
Can you hear it?
Hmm. Sure.
So, if I am sharing with you enthusiastically what I'm feeling, my pitch is lower.
Hmm.
So, I am sharing enthusiastically what I know, and I am conveying it through a different means, which is kindness and enthusiasm. And my voice is lower, and there's less pressure in my throat. So if you talk to me with kindness and enthusiasm, the same thing you want to say,
Hmm.
see what happens to your throat.
Well, when we sing, the everybody sings, and then uh, there's and we're really sensitive. I think we're often really sensitive when I've noticed over time that people are really sensitive to the tone or song of criticalness.
So how does that feel to do it in that manner than the way you did it before?
It's interesting. It's interesting because when I speak in a point, it's like it's almost I'm using that tone to help focus attention as to the importance of it,
That's
right?
that's true, and there is a it's fascinating if you allow the dynamic of the energy of your body more into your voice when you talk,
Mm-hmm.
it won't you won't need to pause it. You'll just bring the energy of your body in. So try that.
I'm sorry, try what?
Yeah, just
Try
so
the. Is that the same thing we just did?
no,
No?
it was close. It was close. But because you were in the energy of your body, you made an assumption that you had to speak slower. You don't.
Okay. I'm getting a little lost.
Yeah. So I'm going to say relaxation is necessary for your whole health.
Uh huh. Uh huh. Yeah. It's interesting because you know it's like when someone um, says something that's really I'm piecing this together, so I'm faltering a little bit. But when someone says something that's really meaningful, they use songs that are sometimes stronger, and sometimes it's interesting because I don't mind when people are being strong and explaining things because then I go into the mode of, oh, okay, this is could be really profound because of the song you're singing,
Right.
right? So when someone's just totally being in their own voice and really just flowing with the resonance of their own tone, then it's sometimes I don't get the profundity of it.
Well, it's about learning how to combine both.
Hmm. Hmm.
So it takes a while, the cool thing about being on the sacred journey is the unfortunate thing about being on the sacred journey. You have to learn patience.
Hmm.
It's just the way it is.
Well,
So,
I would say that the whole thing of being, in your own flow, in the flow of your own song, which really would match the actual tempo of your own breath, as everybody's metabolism is different. That's definitely going to be way better for 90% of the things you're doing, especially for any intimacy or really just communicating to create connection. I mean, it seems really obvious. Yeah.
yeah. So you just did great. I felt it all. I felt the tone of your heart. I felt the authenticity in your voice. That was wonderful.
Yeah. Now, there's another thing that was really interesting. I had this woman come here from Tibet, and she said something really interesting. She said that they had studied all the different timbres of all the different organs. And when I say timbre, that's the whole harmonic tonality of each organ, not high or low frequency, right? And she said, which I don't know if it's true, but it was interesting. She said that your voice takes on the tonality of the weakest organ when you're born. So if you're got a weak kidney, which is around fear, then your voice kind of gets a little you take on that fearful tone. Or if your weakest is the liver, then it's kind of like you take on that. And I thought that was really interesting. I don't
Oh,
know.
I think it's fascinating. I do. I'm a firm believer. When we do healing work with sound, there is so much that comes up because we're not dealing with a 3D life. We're dealing with multiple dimensions of history, of lot of stuff comes up. Past life, a lot of stuff comes up. Karma, and that makes a lot of sense to me. I'm a firm believer in if there has been a map that has been developed that has been really thoroughly developed, then that map is true. Now that map might not be my map, but that map is true. So I want to investigate their map too. It's like, I studied Kabbalah. That's one particular map. Then I studied South American shamanism, and I saw the correlations between the two maps. And then I studied Native American shamanism, and oh my gosh, look at those correlations. And then I went to Tibet, and you can see how everyone is striving for the same thing, which is to understand the miracle of the human being.
Right.
That's really what it's about,
Right.
is to understand that we are living miracles. And how do we bring that beauty in our best authentic self into the world, I think is the soul's journey. So I love her map. I love her map.
Nice, nice. I want to go back to the song because what I've done over many years is started paying attention to the songs that I sing as I speak. And you know what's really interesting is when we start taking on the songs of others, right? I remember a couple of years ago I took on a song of a friend of mine that was I didn't really like that much, but it was kind of funny. And or we'll take on a song from someone else that we really like, right? Especially if we're
Right,
hanging out with those people, we start singing their songs, right?
right.
And so I found it really interesting, really helpful to be able to actually uh, pay attention to the songs I'm singing as I speak more than anything. And that's helped me actually change the tonality or songs that I sing, right? Because I start noticing, because there's some people, this is probably a perfect example, there's some people I've come across occasionally that have really critical sounding voices that are actually really sweet people.
I know of one right now I'm thinking of.
Right? They're actually, you listen to them and you go, oh, right? But actually, everything that that they're really kind, right? And so it's like, so I thought, well, wait a second. I want to come across as kind. So I started looking for those songs that were critical in my voice. And I don't know if I've made some headway, right?
That's good. For someone like you who loves um, analysis, I mean, you're quite a junkie on analysis. You're
Well,
fantastic.
I'm emotional too. I'm a spiral guy too.
Yeah, but no, your ability to really delve into analysis is just stunning. It's how you've made the institute what it is. Um, and and that's your way. I could never do it that way. I could never be be thinking about my song or listening to my song as the way to reveal to me. That wouldn't be what I would do. What I would do, and I know what you're saying, and I think the value is very high. But what I would do is differently. I would be listening to, am I in my body? Am I letting my body inform the way the sound is coming out? Am I being honest in this moment with where I am in my body? And so for me, it's a kind of different self-reflection. It's all about awareness in a different way. And and then the most important part, David, is where's my breath?
Hmm. Yeah,
Where is my breath?
yeah. I think great. I mean, I do that often, quite a lot, and I think that yeah, any way that people I can, and if you want to use all of them, it's great, really great. Because I think number one, as you mentioned, is just the more you're at peace and in coherence, the more that comes across in your system, right? And the more and it's very attractive,
Yeah.
right? So it's like you want to hang out with those people that have that peaceful tone and can go to a really sweet sound.
Yeah. And when it's honest and authentic and genuine and it's moving. I like to say it's generosity, enthusiasm. Um, we're sharing ourselves with our voice.
It's interesting, because when you were talking about being yourself, it's like I've kind of always had a hard time with that term, understanding what being yourself means. Just the term kind of throws me off, right? Because I think, okay, I know being myself. When I think of that, I think of being myself is I am what I identify with as who I am, which is I'm a soul, I'm a point of awareness watching things. I am a body that's vibrating at a certain vibration. I could say I'm emotions, but I don't see that. I don't identify with that. I try not to identify with that. But whatever I am when I'm myself is peace. The core of my being is peace and stillness. And so when I identify with that as being myself, then it feels right because that's what I feel, that my spirit and my soul is complete peace, right?
Isn't it wonderful that you feel that?
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. And that will take us into a different tonality, which is totally what you're saying, using emotions and energy to just lead. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. The physiology will follow.
right.
It just it wants to follow. You know, so the core self, when you're in that peace, I mean, the other thing my Native American teacher taught me was when you're born, you're given two gifts, and they're only yours, and no one can take them from you. And one gift is the ability to choose. That is your gift. You can choose. You can change your mind. You can make decisions. You can choose. And the other is to recognize beauty. And when you think about that, to be able to recognize beauty, it means that to see beauty, you feel beauty.
Mm-hmm.
You feel beauty. Beauty isn't an object. Beauty is an experience. So in that experience of you feeling peace, you're in beauty. You're in that experience. And so your body goes, oh yeah, what a good idea. I've been waiting for this my whole life, maybe many lives. Okay, good. Oh, here I am. Okay, all right. And then you take a breath on it. And that's the secret formula. When you come into that realization, you take a breath on it. You let the body expand into that realization. You let the body recenter itself with that realization, maybe more than one breath. And you pause and you let that wisdom become more real. We're unbelievable resources of wisdom. Unbelievable resources of wisdom. And you have to allow that to come out. It doesn't come out unless you are willing. You know, if I'm always shutting it down, it can't come out. And the breath lets it come out, you know, at those moments too. Sometimes it'll shock you. You must have had that. I've had that. Where your wisdom shocks you. And you go, what did I think of that? Did I really say that? Oh my God, look what came out of my mouth. Did I really say that? Do I really know that? I don't know if I know that. But look what came out of my mouth. And I listen to that and I feel it and I reflect on it and I learn from it.
Nice.
You know? Yeah.
Well, just excellent. Thank you. This is really, really helpful. So many aspects that are just really applicable. And thank you so much for your work and everything you bring to this.
Oh, you're welcome. It's a joy, honestly. I love teaching. I love sharing what I know or what's coming through me. And I look forward to teaching for you again. I look forward to, I have another class of my own coming up. And I'm working with more clients, which is interesting. I'm enjoying that again. It's an extraordinary world we're living in. And the more we bring our joy into it, the more there's joy in it.